Well, after 2 weeks of consideration, long, hard thoughts here, I've decided to remove my name from the transfer portal and return to OwlSports Update.
You might be the only one, because 5 Owls from the men's basketball team can't say the same. The portal's been an exit-only door for Temple over the past 4 weeks. We'll update you on the growing list.
And I'm Matt Renier, live here at Edward Olson Hall, where we'll take a look at a culture change that's happening here for the Owls, as well as a former Temple coach who called it a career recently at the NFL level. OwlSports Update is live, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome into a brand new edition of OwlSports Update. I'm Luke Milai, he's Josh Safran, and while we've still got a month left until our season ends, there are 5 Temple sports in the middle of their off-season grind.
Yeah, and talk about a grind. Division I football spring practices are a full-on slog. The Temple football news this week is plentiful. We'll hear from some brand new coordinators in a minute, but first, we have to look at a couple former Temple Owls moving and shaking on the NFL level.
Yes, coaching news from 2 of our old friends. OwlSports Update's Jake Gable is live at the studio set to tell us more about one retirement and one promotion.
Thanks, guys. Wednesday, Bruce Arians stepped down as head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and instead will be moving into a front office position within the organization. Arians' first ever head coaching job was right here at Temple, where he was in charge from 1983 to 1988, going 27-39. Hired in Tampa in 2019, Arians was a bit better, 31-18, including a Super Bowl title in 2021. Tampa didn't need that exhaustive national search. They already have a replacement. The team has promoted defensive coordinator Todd Bowles to head coach to replace Arians. Bowles played cornerback at Temple under Arians. Bowles graduated in 1985 and was inducted into the Temple Athletic Hall of Fame in 2001. They are not the only Buccaneers with Temple ties. Including Arians and Bowles, there are 7 members of Tampa's coaching staff who either coached at or attended Temple University. 2 of those being special teams coach Keith Armstrong and assistant defensive line coach Lori Locust, who made history by becoming the first female position coach ever in the NFL. With this much cherry and white down there in Florida, we might just have to start calling them Temple Bay. A fun fact, since there's been so much focus on minority hiring in the NFL as of late, you saw that he's the 4th black coach in franchise history, but it's also worth noting that Bowles is the 6th minority head coach currently in the NFL. That will do it from the studio set. I'm Jake Gable. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Jake. Now let's send it over to some current Owls. OwlSports Update's Matt Renier was on the scene at Edward Olson Hall this morning to meet with offensive coordinator Danny Langsdorf to learn his thoughts on his new personnel. And he joins us live at Edward Olson Hall. Hey, Matt.
Thanks, Luke. We've talked a lot about and heard a lot from head coach Stan Drain since he arrived on North Broad. But remember, this team has an entirely new coaching staff working under Drayton. And specifically, offensive coordinator Danny Langsdorf has his work cut out for him, as he is inheriting a team that finished dead last in 2021, averaging just 16 points per game.
You know, we're going to be multiple. We're going to try to do a lot of different things and switch in and out of personnel groups. I knew we had some work to do, but you know, I really didn't know quite what this group would be like. They love playing. You know, they've got great energy. They're engaged. They ask a lot of questions. They come in and get extra work. So I've been pleased with that. We're just trying to evaluate who's our playmakers and how we can get them the ball.
This spring offseason is an important one for a team that's taking a dive in the wrong direction. The program hasn't had a winning record since 2019, and in order to turn things around, they'll need to reestablish a culture of winning. And that is exactly what head coach Stan Drain and his staff are doing right here at Edward Olson Hall.
There's only about a week left of spring football, and most of the talk at 10th and Diamond has been about a culture change within the program.
I mean, not at the standard that we're trying to bring this program to. You we're talking championships. We're not talking 3 wins.
That's 3 wins in 2021 and just 1 win the year before. This is a struggling program, and Drayton and his coaches are looking to recreate a culture of winning that Temple saw with a winning record for 5 straight seasons from 2015 until 2019.
We're recreating that standard, and it's way up here, and our guys are still down here. We got guys that are showing traits of it, but it's a daily evaluation for single digit.
While there is still some time left for Drayton and his staff to implement their system, they've already had some outside help, as the team has been bringing in former Temple greats, including the newest Philadelphia Eagle in Hassan Reddick, to talk with the team and explain to them what it truly means to be Temple tough.
And that's the reason why we're bringing these former single digits in here to talk to our guys so they can understand the mindset of a Hassan Reddick,
And the culture that I came from, we worked hard.
And they hear them speak, they realize how far they've got to go.
Each of those guys that have come and talked to the team have like this edge about them, like this winner's edge about them, and I think it is what the single-digit mantra is.
Reddick was a single-digit player at Temple. It's a tradition that Drayton is bringing back to the Owls as they try to find the next group of leaders to help turn this program around once again.
Rebuilding a team that won only 4 games in the last 2 years will be no easy feat. However, establishing a standard of excellence will be the first step in this process, and head coach Stan Drayton and his staff will have a chance to get a good look at this new crew with the Cherry and White game fast approaching on April 9th here on 10th and Diamond. Reporting from Edberg Olson Hall, I'm Matt Rainier. Luke and Josh, back to you in the studio.
Bruce Arians isn't the only former Owl to leave his nest, as 5 Owls from the men's basketball team have entered the transfer portal since the season ended just about 3 weeks ago. Arashma Parks, Sage Tolbert, Jake Forrester, Ty Strickland, and Jeremiah Williams all announced they're taking their talents off of North Broad. And with college basketball still going, they may not be the last.
And with all this movement for men's basketball, we've brought on OwlSports Updates Eric Chesberger to discuss some of the big names transferring out of the Temple program. Eric, how are you?
Doing great, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Eric, 5 Owls went through the transfer portal, none more important than Jeremiah Williams. What does it mean to this team, and how's it going to affect them to lose a guy of that caliber?
You look at Jeremiah Williams, gentlemen, and you see a freshman bringing the ball up court. You talk about a facilitator for this Owls offense, especially the shoes he filled after Caleb Battle went out injured. You can consider him, if you're talking about Temple athletic terms, Juwan Mathis of the basketball team, because he was a quarterback leading the team, facilitator. He averaged over 4 assists per game, as well as the other offensive category. You look at steals, he had at least 1 steal per game. All eyes turned to Damian Dunn, the leading point collector, after Battle's departure from the team on December 1st with his injury. So you look at Williams and his shoes he filled. It was quite ironic he stepped in to the big shoes of Khalif Battle, but now with Battle exiting, it's quite ironic that Battle and company will have to fill in for the big imprint and the footprint that Jeremiah Williams left now as he exits North Broad.
Yeah, Eric, I mean, Jeremiah clearly the biggest loss, but you got Ty Strickland, you got Jake Forrester and company here. What about those other guys? Do you think McKee's going to have to go into the portal and get some names to pick up some slack? Or do you like what the Owls are working with going into next season?
Well, you always seek to land that big transfer portal splash if it's going to help incorporate into your team. But I'm looking at a foundation of young talent already in the Owls that certainly have a gripe for them after gaining valuable minutes this season. That can turn into strong production coming up next season. You look, you're going to get Caleb Battle back, leading point collector in the entire league. He'll be back in that starting 5. You also look down the list as it's going to be Ryan Sayers, the 1 senior returning. You have Caleb Battle, who will be that junior if he elects to not go with the red shirt. If he does pick up the red shirt and become a redshirt sophomore, he'll join 7 other sophomore on this Owls team, which you look at Jaleel White, 6 rebounds per game as an average. He had 10 alone in the Tulane AAC tournament play. Zach Hicks, a 37% clip from behind the arc. And then you have Haisu Miller as well to round out with Damian Dunn. You saw the leading point collector on this Owls team after Battle's absence. It's an overall starting 5 and then some to the bench depth. It's young, but able to try and facilitate a team that's going to look to land a transfer portal spot, but you have some young talent to come in as a foundation.
Thanks a lot, Eric, for coming on. Well, After 2 consecutive bounce-back wins, the Lac squad tries to reinsert themselves into the national conversation. Bell Master Pietro does Master Pietro kind of things, but can the Owls hold on? A major test as Temple travels up to New York to play 5th-ranked Syracuse on the other side.
And later, 2 fall sports teams are working hard to make spring count in their prep for next season.
OwlSports Update, we'll be right back. The biggest game of the season, at least outside of conference play. The Owls playing 5th-ranked Syracuse, looking to climb back into the top 25, and you can't start better than this. The star, Bell Master Pietro, puts the Owls up 1-0 in the first minute of the game, but that lead wouldn't last. Syracuse rattles off 6 straight goals to take a 6-1 lead in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Riley McGowan tries to start a spark, but can't get a light. For Syracuse, Megan and Emma Terrell finished with 5 goals apiece. And yes, they are sisters. The Terrell sisters alone outscored Temple 10-7, but unfortunately for the Owls, Syracuse poured it on to the tune of 22 goals. The Orange dominate 22-7.
Despite the loss to the Orange, Bell Master Pietro picked up her team-leading 34th goal of the season. The junior midfielder is on pace for her best year as an Owl, and as always, she's getting some extra motivation from a former professional athlete with the same last name.
Isabel is 10 times the athlete I ever was.
And that says a lot, coming from a former professional baseball player who also happens to be Bell Master Pietro's dad. Master Pietro is already a first-team all-conference player. And this season, she leads the team with 34 goals in 11 games.
Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of at this level now is because he always pushed me so hard.
I told her from the beginning, there's always somebody better than you.
This attitude played a role in Master Pietro's growth from a top player at Temple to a top player in the nation, with her recognition on the Tewaaraton Award watch list, which is made up of the top female lacrosse players in the nation.
She has done so much in her short career that took me a long time to accomplish.
Bell's dad also pushed her to be a multi-sport athlete. In addition to lacrosse, she played soccer and was a 1,000-point scorer on the basketball court at Springfield High School.
My parents always wanted me to try as many sports as possible. A lot of times I didn't really want to.
Everyone talked about Bell's ability on the basketball court, and if you went to a game, everyone was talking about Bell.
My high school coach always told us that he loved basketball players just because he could translate so well.
Master Pietro's high school lacrosse coach wasn't the only one who saw the translation from the court to the field.
And that was kind of the final piece that made me really happy about having her on the field, because she not only, had the lacrosse skills, but she was someone who was willing to point guard the game.
Bell said that her dad is at almost every home game, so we'll probably see Mr. Master Pietro in the stands as the team begins conference play this week. The Owls start this stretch off with a pair of games at the Temple Sports Complex, taking on Cincinnati and Vanderbilt. Temple went a combined 3-1 against these two teams a season ago. Overall, the Owls were 7-3 against the American last year and made an appearance in the conference championship game before falling to 7th-ranked Florida.
In Cherry Hill for some men's tennis action against Morgan State. Temple wearing gray and Morgan State wearing white. The Owls had to switch up some doubles pairings due to injury, but no one could tell as Temple dominated. In fact, Coach Morrow's crew did not drop a single set to the Bears. Here's Marin Delmas, who swept his opponent 2-0 with a powerful backhand. Now Louis Gorgas, he also blanked his opponent 2-0, a successful day in South Jersey as Temple wins the entire match 4-0.
No, you're not getting deja vu like Olivia Rodrigo. The women's team was also in Cherry Hill to match up with Morgan State. The similarities didn't end with the location, as the women swept the Bears right out of the Cherry Hill Racquet Club alongside the men 4-0. This marks the Owls' 5th sweep in their 8 total wins this season. Rewind one match prior, Temple hosted Fordham at the TU Pavilion. No doubles matches were played that day, but singles play was all the Owls needed. The Cherry and White won 5 of their 6 singles matches on the day. The Owls beat Fordham 5-1.
These two teams are off to hot starts this season, having started the year undefeated at home. Maybe it's a pregame chicken sandwich from J&H, an unproven theory. But to offer some more insight regarding Temple's home cooking, we welcome OwlSports Update's Jesse DeMitch-Louvet at the studio set.
Thanks, Josh. The Owls are dominating at home, going 6-0, thanks in large part to junior Marin Delmas, who started the season 4-1 in singles play before he rolled his ankle against 34th-ranked Princeton on March 5th, forcing him to take a 10-day layoff. Since his return against Delaware, the Frenchman has won 4 straight matches and looks poised as he enters his first conference tournament at the end of April. The women are dominating even more this season, beating all 7 teams they have faced, winning their first 25 combined matches. Senior Jamie Wei of Taiwan and Vinita Mumadi of India have been swinging their way through win after win, but freshman Veronika Kolheva has transitioned smoothly into the collegiate scene. The Czech started off the season 9-2 in singles and 8-3 in doubles play, hoping to improve on that record with the 4 remaining matchups in conference play. Both teams look to continue to build on their strong respective seasons as the women have a 2-match home stretch against Binghamton and Drexel. The Owls will then face Villanova before their first and only conference matchup against Tulsa. The men get their first sniff at conference play, traveling to Texas Friday to take on SMU, Wichita State, and 31st-ranked Memphis, then come back to Philly to host Drexel. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Jesse Dimich-Louvet. Luke and Josh, back to you.
Thanks, Jesse. It sure hasn't felt like spring outside, but the spring off-season is underway for a few sports.
We've got updates on women's soccer and field hockey. We'll take a look at the importance of these exhibition matches when OwlSports Update returns.
While the spring semester isn't where you would typically look for competitive field hockey, the Owls' journey to the Big East tournament starts now. This time without a coaching carousel and a pandemic to worry about. OwlSports Update's Brett Rehak has more.
For the field hockey coaching staff, this might just be the best time of year. The spring season is full of practices and games, but none of it really counts, at least not for wins and losses. This is technically the off-season.
Spring always serves as a kind of developmental part of the season. Spring is an opportunity.
This spring season in 2021 led right to the fall season just a few months later, where the Owls posted their first winning record in the Big East in 7 years.
All of those hours that you do put in, even if it's individual, doesn't necessarily translate to collective success.
Now in 2022, the Owls are back in their regular spring off-season, where the goal in practice and their scrimmages is improved chemistry and desire to improve their skills.
We're literally together every day, and it's so much fun every day to come out here and play, you know, coming out of the pitch and try and train every day with the girls.
Field, whether that be just staying after for 5 minutes and working on your hits or working on a specific skill. If you have time to stay after, why not use it?
The additional in-game reps are affording the team the opportunity to run different lineups, searching for hidden positional potential.
More people are able to try different positions, and we're able to see where people work. Like, say a defender is actually better on offense, we're able to try that out.
This flexibility has already led to success in early season action, beating Lehigh 7-2 and Lafayette 2-1.
The next time you'll be able to catch the Owls on their home pitch will be April 16th at the City 4 tournament. From Howarth Field, I'm Brett Rehak, OwlSports Update.
Not done talking field hockey yet. The Owls wearing the black and red, Lafayette in the white and red early on. A beautiful ball finds its way between a few sticks. It gets centered, and there's Julianne Kopech driving it home to start the scoring in the second half now. Temple showing off what they've been working on during practice. Off the free hit, Kopech picks it up, uses her strength to cut through Lafayette's defense, and finds the back of the net for a second time. A pair for Kopech as Temple defeats Lafayette 2-1. Temple women's soccer hasn't had a winning season since 2015. One freshman looking to help end the drought is an import from one of football's most storied organizations. And no, I don't mean the Patriots, Steelers, or 49ers. OwlSports Update's Vic Ragapathy has more.
With 18 freshmen, Temple women's soccer is quite youthful. But that doesn't mean the squad isn't well-traveled. Case in point, Phoebe Holland, the freshman fullback, spent 7 years in the Manchester United organization before coming to North Broad.
It's just a championship environment, like everyone's just trying to push each other to do the best that we can do together.
It's not Panama.
Holland won league titles in 2018 and 19 with United's U16 side. Valuable pedigree for Nick Boquette's youngsters.
One of the bigger things that she's brought to the team, along with her other internationals, is a diversity of thought when it comes to the game, right? And if you grew up in the UK, you learned the game in a different way.
Holland is one of 3 international players on Boquette's team.
In the fall, she played the second most minutes of any true freshman. It's an example of a young squad growing up quickly as the Owls try to improve on their 5-8-3 record from the fall.
We're employing younger players to take a leadership role, and some of them have really stepped up, and that's been super awesome to see.
Nick did well with recruiting our class, but Nick also emphasises that age doesn't matter when it's on the field. If you're good enough, then you're old enough.
While there's plenty of room to grow, the side has already established a sense of camaraderie.
A lot of the team is super close. I mean, a lot of my best friends are on this team.
We spend a lot of time together. If we're not on the field together, then we're off the field together. So I think having that relationship on and off the field really helps us do well.
Holland and the Owls host Towson on Friday. From the Temple Sports Complex, Vic Ragupathy, OwlSports Update.
Josh, we've seen the field hockey and soccer teams both in action a few times already this spring. Now, these games don't really count for anything in terms of standings, but how much stock do you put into these matches in terms of how it'll go to the fall?
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone to remember these tune-up games are just that, tune-up games. So I try not to put too much stock, if any, into how I anticipate the Owls to fare in the fall as a team. However, I do think these games go a very long way in terms of individual performances. This spring is a great opportunity for players like Owen Goronsky to ease himself back into that starting goalie spot after his injury, and for field hockey head coach Michel Vitisse, who wasn't officially head coach until the end of the fall season. Now, looking ahead, what else are you looking out for here in the spring season?
Josh, I'm looking forward to something we haven't highlighted on the show yet. The volleyball team has some spring action in April, and it'll be our first sight of Linda Hampton-Keith as the head coach of the squad. Coming off a fall season where the team went 3-17 in conference play, I want to know where the energy level is with this team under a new leader.
That's right, Luke. And OwlSports Update will be right back on the other side. Our show isn't over just yet, and neither is the gymnastics season, at least for two Owls gymnasts.
Juliana Rowland and Brooke Donabedian took the trip to North Carolina for NCAA Regionals. It's the second straight trip to Regionals for Rowland, who earned first-team All-Eagle honors this season. And she wasn't just one of the best in the conference. Rowland had the 8th best national qualifying score in the Northeast region. That pitches her up against 15 other schools' gymnasts.
Brooke Donabedian specializes in floor, where she finished ranked second in the Eagle Conference. With this regional selection, Donabedian becomes just the third Owl in program history to get sent to regionals for floor. These two athletes will compete in their respective events Thursday night at 7, and if either gymnast finishes first in their event, they'll advance to nationals.
Another team on the national map is the fencing team. Dr. Frank's squad rolled through opponents this season, beating at least 2 teams in every meet, something they hadn't done in 2 years. The Owls were ranked as high as 8th in the nation this season, and the Cherry and White capped off another strong campaign by winning their 26th straight NIWFA title. Yeah, you heard that right, 26 straight.
Wasn't the send-off fencing was hoping for in the 2022 season. Temple entered NCAA championships ranked 10th, with finished championships in 16th. In epee, Naomi Ross finished 19th out of 24 fencers, winning 8 bouts along the way. In foil, Anna Novoseltseva finished 21st out of 24 fencers, winning 6 bouts during her time in South Bend. With Ross being a junior and Novoseltseva being a freshman, both fencers will get a shot at redemption next season.
Before we wrap things up and send you to our fancy new camera, thanks to a very tall new volunteer we have here at OwlSports Update, remember you can catch all of our content on social media at OwlSports Update or our website, OwlSportsUpdate.com.
And as learned the hard way, this is a no sneaker zone with our new camera, but that's all for us. We'll see you.